Baseless accusations of a rigged vote are leading to threats of violence and even death against election officials around the country. A new article from the Associated Press takes a look at the disturbing rhetoric amplifying across the U.S. and the potential impact that it could have on the electoral process. Colleen Long, the law enforcement reporting team leading for the AP, co-wrote the article, and she's here now to break this down. So we've sure been covering a lot of sort of crazy talk over the last couple of weeks, Colleen, but your article begins with kind of a striking passage, so I want to go through that for people. You write, "The last throes of Donald Trump's presidency have turned ugly, even dangerous. Death threats are on the rise. Local and state election officials are being hounded into hiding. A Trump campaign lawyer is declaring publicly that a federal official who defended the integrity of the election should be drawn and quartered or simply shot." Now, he said that he was being sarcastic, but we've heard that before when people say things publicly that there's outrage, an outrage reaction. Just to what extent do you believe that President Trump is really sort of driving this rhetoric, giving people, in a way, a type of permission to speak like this? Why has it gotten worse?
Well, I think Trump has always been known for his sort of triggering language. He put himself on his forceful sort of rhetoric, and he isn't outright advocating for violent rhetoric today, but it's a similar thing, I think, that we've seen before, for example, after the Charlottesville incident, where he said there were many fine people on both sides. His refusal to condemn it, I think, is giving people a sort of signal that they think it's okay to continue to step up these attacks. In some cases, he has suggested that harm could potentially come to some former officials who left the administration and have publicly criticized him.
You know, Colleen, the president this morning tweeted in all caps, just 2 words: rigged election. This is from a sitting president of the United States his party is celebrating wins that the Republicans and the gains that they made in the United States Congress. But when it comes to his own personal feeling about the election, it's rigged because he did not win. But I wonder if in your reporting you have found and heard from individuals who say, well, okay, Donald Trump has always been Donald Trump, and this is sort of part and parcel with his personality. But now you've got people within his own party who are sitting silently by and allowing the president to undermine American democracy. You have leaders in the United States Senate, in the House of Representatives, that have yet to congratulate the president-elect. They have yet to even say that President-elect Biden is the president-elect. So from Donald Trump's perspective, and again, just going by the way he's always comported himself, if you are going to give him that land, that ground to do that, he's going to take it. That's who he is. If you saw or you heard from Republicans who said, hey, wait a minute, Mr. President, this is not the way you should be comporting yourself, and you've heard from some, like Mitt Romney, but not enough to change his behavior.
Yeah, I think we've seen members of his own administration come out very publicly and say that the election was the most secure ever. He fired that official, and that official is one of the people who was threatened by a Trump lawyer this week. I think that this week also my colleague broke a story about how even the Attorney General has said that there's been no widespread fraud. I don't think that we've seen a sort of coalescing around the idea that Biden is coming into office on January 20th by the sort of Republican Party. I'm not sure when the line is for them. I'm not entirely certain when Mitch McConnell will then decide that it's time to sort of get behind the new administration, but it doesn't seem to be yet.
You know, every time I hear sort of all this outrageous talk, I think about the people that are the center of it all, the people that are targeted by some of this crazy stuff on the internet and these threats. And, you know, I'm like, these are people who thought they were just picking boring jobs that no one would ever know their name. You know, like if you pursue a career in the nitty-gritty of elections, you're not looking to make a splashy headline. And then you have President Trump. And, you know, one of the things that he's been talking about are these Dominion voting systems, flipping votes. It's not true. It's a false claim. Everyone accepts it as a false claim, with the exception of the president and some of his supporters. The security director of that company, Eric Coomer, is now in hiding. You had a conversation with him. How is he handling all of this?
Yeah, I think he is pretty freaked out. You know, this is a person who has, as you say, a very boring job. He was doing elections systems work for more than 15 years. And he said to me repeatedly that his job is apolitical. Elections are about counting votes. They're not about politics. Politics is what you do before the election. It's not what you do during the election. So he was pretty surprised when a conservative outlet started picking up this idea that he was somehow changing votes. Others have suggested he was rewriting code in the voting systems, which would have allowed votes to be changed. That's very difficult, if not impossible, to do. And also, he hasn't voted in more than a decade. So that's clearly not happening. There's also been accusations about Dominion being a subsidiary somehow of the Venezuelan government, which is just not true. It's a U.S.-based company. Yeah, it's just he's been sent into hiding. He's gotten death threats via text. He's gotten hate mail to his home. His father got hate mail. His family has been targeted. He told me that they even targeted his former wife. All their information has been posted online. So I think he's taking it really hard.
You know, it is absolutely remarkable. And one would think if the Democrats or any organization was trying to rig the election or steal the election, they would have given themselves control of the United States Senate, and they wouldn't have lost seats in the House of Representatives. Nobody ever seems to wonder about that. But let me ask you about this, Colleen. Elections officials in Georgia are being threatened, as you say, and people are doxing them. An elections official in Georgia condemned the threat at a news conference this week. I want to play some of that for you.
It has all gone too far. All of it. Joe DeGeneva today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot. A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason because he was transferring a report on batches from an EMS to a county computer so he could read it. It has to stop.
All right, Gabriel Sterling, who you just heard in that sound, is a Republican, and he's pleading with the President of the United States to tone down the language. But the president has doubled down on that rhetoric and on that language. So just give us a little bit more insight, Colleen, into what's going on in Georgia specifically, and who's targeting some of these individuals, and who's being targeted.
Yeah, so Trump is going after Georgia specifically because, you know, there's a really tight runoff election in January. Dominion Systems, the person, Eric Coomer, who is in hiding right now, Dominion Systems is the only voting system in Georgia. So that is also kind of playing into this. And then you have much of the Republican establishment sort of going against the larger Republican Party to say that the election was secure, to say that, you know, the audit they did was accurate, certifying Biden as the winner of the state. So the threats are coming from, again, it's sort of the online masses, Trump supporters, who are really unwilling to believe that Trump has lost the election. So the president is heading there tomorrow for a rally to support the two Republican candidates, but he's had other sort of conservative factions calling for Republicans not to vote at all because the election was so rigged. One of those people is Sidney Powell, and she's a lawyer who has been, she was essentially kicked off the legal team.
I think we got her right at the end there. I think she froze a little.
She froze. What's happening with the election.
There you go. You're back. Yeah, I mean, Colleen, it's such an you've done such incredible reporting. We're so grateful that you were able to come on. And, we talked about this, Anne-Marie, already, that a lot of the issues that the president is suggesting around rigging and all this stuff could have been alleviated if the Republicans had not pushed so hard for certain states like Wisconsin, like Pennsylvania, to not allow the counting of those votes leading up to Election Day. A lot of these issues would have been alleviated because you hear, Colleen, if she's not frozen, that there are a lot of Trump supporters that are wondering how President Trump was winning on Election Day and ultimately Joe Biden got 80 million votes. Well, now you know why. It's because leaders in your party chose and pushed for certain states to begin the count on and after Election Day, as opposed to those millions of votes that were coming in because of mail-in voting, because of the pandemic that we were all going through, Colleen.
Yeah, I mean, the real issue here is that so many millions of Americans voted by mail this year. And in a lot of states, Republican-driven states, they decided to keep the system the same so that mail-in votes are counted after the November 3rd in-person votes. So it really, we at the AP certainly have been trying to articulate for weeks before the election that it was entirely possible that it would seem like one person was winning the election, and then that would change when the mail-in votes arrived. I think the message was received in some part, but obviously not in others, because this has been a large talking point for Trump and his allies. The argument, of course, is how could he possibly seem like he was winning on November 3rd, and then the lead sort of slipped away as the votes were counted. It could have been alleviated if they started counting votes earlier.
Yeah, like they did in Florida. Colleen Long, thank you very, very much. Really great reporting. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.